Okay, I miss Ashok now because he would have gone like that. Good evening, Shamini.
Good evening, Miss Malar. How are you?
I'm actually very good because my hair matches your top, and I think that's a very important thing because we're talking about collaboration today. So
Yes,
we're
we are.
collaborating in terms of colors. So yes, so good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show, and glad to be here. And this is an exciting day for me, I must say, because it's a stretch to talk about collaboration. Because when Shamini and I got together, because it was my turn to do some work after a long time to do the summary with Sham, we needed to find a framework for collaboration, right? And for me, that means I need to now reflect upon what collaboration means to me. And it's horrible when you need to talk about something that you're not good at. And so shamelessly, I know this, but to admit this in public that I'm not a natural collaborator because I am so happy working on my own. And I think just preparing, when we met to prepare for this, I had to really reflect what collaboration means to me. And I must say that I'm very pleased with what I've learned throughout this process of preparing. And of course, our three speakers this month, they definitely inspired me in many ways to feel what I felt, which is the value of collaboration.
Hmm.
I didn't expect this to be so close to my heart. I didn't expect the topic to be close to my heart. I just thought, just get through collaboration, right? And then as I reflected, I realized how much of collaboration has happened for me, especially
Hmm.
uh, post pandemic, during pandemic. In fact, I think that's where you are the queen of collaboration because you brought a few people together, and I reluctantly joined the group Nudges and Nuggets and Nudgets. Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
and I say I reluctantly joined because this was a group of very amazing, powerful women who were my friends, and it was
Hmm.
quite a scary place for me to be there. It was in the beginning, and but I realized the moment you invited me and I got into that space reluctantly, I had no choice. I
Hmm.
had no choice because I wanted to learn some skills from the women in the group, the
Hmm.
Roshni of the world and Jacqueline Sureen of the world, right? And different people brought different things, and I know I had to learn from them
Hmm.
and from you, right? And and I saw, as much as I didn't want to be there at 9 o'clock, I was there and I was benefiting. So it was a real stretch for me at that moment, and I think that was the beginning, and it gave me a lot of courage moving forward to be in the group to learn and to learn, to build my muscle on collaboration. So
Hmm.
that's my I would say quick collaboration story. And why am I telling this story? I think if you are listening in or watching, if you are like me, shout out, talk to us. If you're
Yep.
not a natural collaborator, because I think very often when we talk about the word collaboration, we all know it's good. We assume it works for everybody.
Mm.
And it's a breeze for everybody to collaborate because of all the benefits that seem to come with collaboration. But as we looked through the topic, even though the benefits of collaboration is many, we still have personal struggles with
Mm.
collaboration, which is why it's good for us to talk about it and grow with it and from it, right?
Yep.
So that we then make more conscious choices where to collaborate, when to collaborate, who to collaborate, and most importantly, why
Mm.
we really want to collaborate. Are we collaborating for the sake of collaborating, or do we want to do purposeful collaboration? And I think that's what Shamini and I have been thinking, talking, learning, and we are putting it out to you. And we hope that you can join us in the conversation.
Conversation. Yes. Please join us and put out your thoughts, your struggles, your questions. And unlike how Muller says that collaboration is as easy to me as it is was a stretch for her. I don't think I am a natural collaborator, right? I My biggest collaboration was during the pandemic, and it was from sheer fright and shock and like, oh my god, what are we supposed to do? That push that into the space. And since we were having this conversation, one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted us to explore collaboration. What exactly does collaboration mean? And I'm happy that we found a framework that the different nuances of collaboration. And I think that will put into perspective some of the things. I mean, are we really collaborating? I think
Mm,
that's the question we need to ask, right? We think we are, but maybe it's not. Maybe it is. It's part of a spectrum, and which part of the spectrum are we sitting on? So I think we got an interesting conversation to have, and instead of it just being between the two of us, it'd be great if you join us as well, all our viewers, whoever's clocked in. Uh, put your comments out. Okay, Muller.
and Sham, so
Hmm.
before we actually when you before you share your model, right? Okay, Jero has come in nicely and said
Yes.
good evening. Good evening, Jero. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you have some questions for us, okay, so that we can
Hmm.
uh, have this three-way conversation at least, right? And
Yep.
Elijah Queck has also come in and said hello. For some reason, I think it's not showing up. Hi, Elijah.
Yeah.
Betul lah. So now,
Yep.
actually, Sham, when I first thought of collaboration, collaboration actually means coming together,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
And when it
Mm.
comes to when we talk about coming together, when we come together for a purpose, uh, at work we call it teamwork,
Yes.
right? And I
Mm.
must say that even though I'm not a great collaborator, I'm not a good collaborator. Uh, I am a good team player
Mm.
when I'm in a team. So what was
Mm.
interesting for me that because I saw myself as a good team player, I couldn't understand why I wasn't a good collaborator.
Collaborate. Okay, that's an interesting distinction.
Yeah, and that's why I thought the model that you introduced actually gives us clear transition from one level of whatever we call of coming together and having different labels would help
Mm.
people who are struggling like me,
Mm. Okay.
right? Yeah. All right.
So, what do we do next? Do we bring up the? Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we're
You
gonna
can
do. Yeah.
you can take us through this and and for those who've joined us, you may want to start thinking about when you think about collaboration, where you are actually in this continuum where collaboration is concerned for you. All right.
Okay. Um. Just as before I start, though, I want to acknowledge where this model comes from, this framework comes from. And I'm going to put that in chat. And it's by a gentleman by the name of Arthur T. Himmelman. Okay. And he crafted it for as a tool for as a tool of collaboration for change. When Malar and I were preparing for this program, we decided one of the ways of talking about collaboration, rather than looking at it from collaborating as a team and how to do it better, what are things and struggles that you have, was to look at collaboration slightly at a larger macro level, right? And we went looking for a framework to help us talk about it in that way. And we came across this continuum. Okay. Some people call it continuum, some people call it a spectrum, whatever suits you, right? So on the one hand, on the left hand side, you have where the individual or the person is immuring, which is basically putting yourself in isolation, working solo or in silo, right? And the other extreme being integration, right? So, what are the nuances, right? And we thought that this would be a nice way for us to sit back and ask ourselves, in that spaces that we think we are we collaborating or are we networking, for example? All right. Are we in that space with the other person or individuals or persons? Are we merely exchanging information for mutual benefit? And I used to do this before, and I still do it, right? I've got a large network of people across the world, and sometimes I have people popping up and say, Sham, do you know someone who can do this or this and in that space or in that location, right? And then there's a mutual exchange of information, and I can go back to my network and ask the same question if I need it at any point in time, right? Now, if you move away from networking, there's something called coordination or coordinating, right? Where you network, and in addition to that, you alter activities to achieve a common purpose. And this brings to mind, Malar, what we were involved in a previous life called HR Exchange, right? Which was an event where we got HR decision makers together, and we had other training specialists, L&D specialists, who put together an event for half a day or one day. And it was cooperation, because we were coming together in order for in order for us to network and to achieve a common purpose, right?
Right.
And the common purpose at that time was to build our businesses or make our businesses larger, right? Now, if we take that one step further, sorry, Mala, you want to say something?
No, no.
Okay. If you take that one step further, you've got cooperation. So it is coordinating, it's networking, coordinating, and in addition to that, you're sharing resources, right? Sharing staff, sharing finance, sharing space, sharing instrumentation, all right? And some of the work that Malar and I do is in that space of cooperation, right? We share common resources, for example, right? And that could be seen as cooperation. So are we cooperating, or are we going into the next stage, which is collaboration? And collaboration, now this is what Himmelman says is collaboration. It's learning from each other to enhance each other's capacity, right? Um, and that is the definition of collaboration. So if you look at collaboration, it's a combination of networking, coordinating, cooperation, and you are learning from each other. We're gaining from each other. We are strengthening each other. We're strengthening on our own, but we're also strengthening the collective in that, right? And the end of it is integration, integrating, right? Where you're merging the operations, the processes, the structures, the budgets, and you're becoming one. You're kind of almost like you're separate but yet one under one, right? And many organizations today are structured that way, right? As an integration of collective businesses. So I found this useful because what it helped me do is it helped me step back and look at the part, the connections, the relationship, the teamwork that I'm doing with the different parties or different people or different businesses, and ask myself, where am I in this continuum with that particular individual or that particular business? Right? Am I at the networking stage? Am I at the coordinating stage, cooperating? Am I really collaborating? I really don't have anything right now that we are in the integrating, even between the two of us. All right. We're not yet at integration stage. Yeah. So yeah, so that was my takeaway from this model. Malar, you?
Yeah. So I thought what was useful for me in this model
Mm,
is to know
mm,
where I am. So this really got me reflecting to the post I wrote this morning, and I became very grateful for
yeah.
all my
Yes.
friends who very, very, I was grateful here, not here, here,
Uh,
because I realized that I needed the language because of my own challenges. Number one, number two, I was also very grateful for people who actually pushed me into collaboration by giving me first,
mm,
right? So I was receiving collaboration before I became a collaborator, And as I wrote
nice.
that, I began to see the number of people who had actually helped me. For me, this continuum is important because you will find that collaboration is one of the top skills that is required for personal and professional success today. So
Mm,
post pandemic, you'd realize that we are using a lot of this word collaboration, right? And when we are talking about collaboration, if you think about it, the challenge with collaboration is you need to marry it carefully with autonomy,
mm,
right? Which is really challenging. So what I have recognized is this, right? I mean, being an entrepreneur for the last 20 over years, I've just learned how to be autonomous, right? It's I enjoy it. I like doing it my way, right? It's a very nice space, and
mm,
it is necessary for the business person I am, for the entrepreneur I am. Now,
mm,
having said that, I think also pre-pandemic we celebrated people who worked independently. So even businesses, corporate companies, you realize that bosses were hoping that people were more independent in the way they think, in the way they make decisions, and we were pushing for autonomy
that
because
is true.
we were very collaborative naturally, right? Because of
Mm, mm,
circumstances, because of work, right?
mm,
And now, what happened is whatever organizations were trying to do pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, we became autonomous over almost overnight because we were left alone because of the pandemic and the lockdowns. We
mm,
had to figure out a lot of things as to how to do this on my own. How do I learn
mm,
on my own? How do I do my job? How a lot of people didn't even get a proper onboarding when they got their jobs
yeah.
during the pandemic, right?
Yeah,
And
we've heard enough stories about that, right? Yeah.
yeah, no resources because you work
Mm,
from home and you were not ready. You can't go to the shop and buy what you want. But
mm,
the system and we figured out a way to be autonomous. So what happened is we built our autonomy muscle really well during
yeah.
pandemic. And as we settled down with our autonomy, we realized that, oh my goodness, I am not going to do well just on my own, which is
Mm,
why I now need to collaborate.
mm,
So we found, I think, on social media, especially LinkedIn for us, we found a lot of groups coming together, right? Naturally to help each other. So think
mm,
about, the people that we learn from who taught us on LinkedIn, courses on
yep.
how to present virtually,
Virtually.
how we do programs virtually. So I learned from whom I would have considered a competitor
Mm,
during pandemic. So
correct.
I felt really, really blessed that I could sit in programs of people who were in the same industry now.
Mm,
Then I realized, hello, we're not competitors at all. We can ride on each other's strength.
Correct.
And there was some, we started building friendship. So there was a connection. So we came together
Mm.
for whatever we wanted in the relationship. But what I realized is that below that getting together, some connections happen. I mean, it's just like you and me, Isha. I got into N because I wanted to learn. That's it. I won't say
Mm.
I liked you, right?
Mm.
But
Yeah.
because during that conversation, I saw so many parts of you that connected me back to you,
Mm.
right? Connected
Okay.
me to who you are, your value system. So that connection at whatever deeper level it happens, which is what led us to want to collaborate. And if it's not for our collaboration, we won't have Viva today.
Yep, that is true.
Yeah. So
Yep.
so I found so then the collaboration happened, right? And then now we are going to what we call the new normal. Now, and what I
Mm.
realized with clients that I'm working with is that in the new normal, it's very confusing, right? Because depending on how I'm working, I am autonomous.
Yep.
I need to collaborate. How do I bring these two together in the best equilibrium that is required for my role?
Correct.
What every role requires might be different levels of collaboration. And when we
Mm.
park everything under collaboration, it can be very, very challenging. Because if you look at the continuum, what I like about this is that the further we go towards your right, the more committed we are in the relationship, the more accountability we have in the relationship.
The relationship. Yep. And the more there are processes and systems and the ecosystem that helps build that relationship or strengthen or hold that relationship, right? I
Correct.
want to just pause here because there's a question from William Anthony. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read out the question. It's a bit of a long one, but I'm going to read it out, William, because I think if you stay on with us, your questions you'll get some not maybe not answers, straight out answers, but you might be able to see where are the things that you may need to adjust or sort out. So William's question is, or statement is this: I am a collaborator and try to collaborate by initiating some change in process. However, silo and operational work mentality just to work on daily issues and projects, the process to adapt something new is ignored. And I don't have the say or the ability to break the ice to approach such individuals. Am I neglecting, fearing to improve, or is there a better way to approach collaboration? It's a very important question, William. And I hope we are going to be unpacking some of that, some of your answers, through this hour that we have together. So yeah, part of it is very much in asking yourself. I think the first thing is whether um, what you are considering as collaboration needs to be a collaboration, or is it something else in the spectrum or the continuum that you're looking for, right? And stay with us because there are other parts of it that can help give you some suggestions and clues. Okay, Malar, sorry, back to you.
Okay. No, actually, so I think it'd be interesting for where we look at William's question, right, William?
Yep.
I hope you are still tuned in with us. So if you look at William's question itself, and I'm looking at the question, he says, I'm a collaborator. So, William, it'd be very interesting
Mm,
to see in the process that you're leading, because you said you're initiating some change in a process. So, whatever change process that you are initiating, it sounds to me that this is your own initiative, something that you are
mm,
trying to bring about. So, you are collaborating. So, if you look at this space, you may want to check in and ask yourself, are you in the coordinating space,
yep.
which is altering the way we do things,
Mm,
right?
for a common
Or
purpose. Yep.
are we really looking at collaboration? Because collaboration here is learning from each other to enhance each other's capacity. So here we are riding on each other's strength,
Mm,
right? So because what I realized was, what I recognized is this, right? I think if we understand where actually, where we are able to unpack where our challenges could be. And when
Correct.
we unpack where our challenges are, then we go and look and try and resolve that,
Correct.
right?
So, if I were to add on to that,
Mm-hmm.
William, if you are coordinating and you're introducing a system or a process, maybe it's not an issue of collaboration, but maybe it's an issue of influence, and maybe it's an issue of, the correct time, for example, or who do you need to get on your side, right? Which is all part of influence. So, um, as Malar said, it's helping us know where where what this continuum does helps you know where you sit, because then your um a solution might not be at a collaboration level solution. It might be a different solution for you to look at or think
And
about.
also, right, William has put up something that, William, this is a problem that I hear from almost every other person who wants to be a collaborator, who has the will to be a collaborator, but the system doesn't allow it, right? So, on one
Mm,
hand, we tell people to collaborate. On the other hand, like what you said, silo and operational work mentality on daily issues and projects, right? So, if you think about this, this is a real issue that we have. So, if we want a collaboration culture, then we need to make sure that work culture supports collaboration. And whether we like it or not, what gets measured gets done. So when we talk
mm,
about silo mentality and operational work, even when we are working with leaders, it is not the will factor that people don't want to collaborate, but I am being measured for uh, my
output.
KPIs
Mm,
output, right? Now that takes priority. This is where the why of collaboration is very, very important. So when we talk about selling the idea of collaboration, the purpose of collaboration needs to be clear, number one. Number two, the benefit to the other person need to be clear for the other person.
mm, mm.
It's two people coming on as equals because they're bringing different strengths that the other can benefit from.
Correct.
And that's a different space, right? So if I am caught up with my daily operational work, now I'm struggling with my operational work, I have no time. As a
Mm,
result, I adopt the silo mentality for me to cope.
correct.
Now, if I want to transfer my silo mentality to team mentality or collaborators mentality, ideally, it's good if I have more time, but in real situation, we are not going to get more time, right? Which means that I now need to see how this collaboration effort is going to actually help me
Benefit.
meet my
Yep.
KPIs, right?
Correct.
And that I think that why when that is communicated, then you would find that people are willing to collaborate. So what is it in for me? As a person, as a function, as a business, as results, right? I think if
Yes.
that's not clear, we don't collaborate for the fun of it. We don't collaborate because I like Shamini. I like Shamini. I love Shamini. But am I going to collaborate with her for because I love her? No. I'll go shopping with
Mm,
her, right? I will hang out with her. I'll gossip with her. But I don't have to collaborate for work, right?
correct.
So, and that's the part that we're going to talk about shortly because we're going to introduce you to share with you another model as to why we might collaborate and why we may not collaborate internally, and for us to surface that, right? And the last part is that the process to adapt something new is ignored, and I don't have the say, no, break the ice approach, right?
Mm,
So you're basically saying you have no power. A lot of people need to collaborate with no power.
yep.
And I'm going to just share one example. This morning, I was doing a coaching session, and collaboration came up, right? With this person who's an individual contributor. He's a manager by title, but he's an individual contributor. And he was saying, why do I want to collaborate? Because it takes too much of time, right?
Mm,
And as we
mm,
were having the conversation, I just asked him, so what is your next level of career growth that you're looking at? Do you want to go the specialist track or do you want to go
Mm,
the leadership track? He said, I want to
mm,
go the leadership track, right? But he said, but I don't
mm,
have anyone reporting to me now. I
mm,
said, fantastic. I said, but if you have nobody reporting to you, actually, if you have someone reporting to you, it's easy. You now have power to tell them what you want them to do. But when you don't have anybody reporting to you, you now need the power to influence them, to cooperate, to
mm.
coordinate, and to collaborate with you.
Yep.
So, and that totally changes the skill level that is required. But what was interesting for him was not the skill level, but what he said is, but I just want to get things done my way because it's faster, because the remuneration system and the reward system and the recognition system is for what I do.
Mm,
And if I collaborated, I will not get credit and it will affect my recognition and my rewards directly. So that becomes a systemic issue. I said, okay, fine, let's park that. I said, if you want to go the leadership route, now let's look at leadership. A lot of now leadership levels has got very few real direct reports.
reports.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, we also have many matrix relationship where I
Correct.
need to work with other functions,
Mm,
peers, and sometimes worse still is peers and above. So
mm.
can you imagine if you can't get your peers to collaborate with you? How do you get someone who's more powerful in ranking to work with you?
Correct.
So that needs influence, right? So when we spoke about it, at what he recognized is that if he doesn't get his skills of collaboration up, not just his skills, but his mindset of collaboration up, he is going to benefit in the short run in this role.
Mm,
And he may not actually qualify for the next role, even if he has all the skills, because he won't be able to bring that out with people. So, William,
mm.
I'm sharing that story simply for you to one know that we need to understand why people won't collaborate. People don't do things unless it
Yep.
works for them. We need to understand their story and their difficulty, number one. And you said you have no power. When you have no power, you need to use your power to influence, right? And in
Right.
being influential is it's real power.
Yes.
It's
Spot
real power,
on.
right? Being
Power.
able to
Yeah.
convince people how it is actually going to work towards a common goal that we are looking at, right? And you did ask the question, am I neglecting fear to improve or better way to approach the collaboration? I'd like to say that what I have learned is this, right? There are two parts to it. Oh, actually, there are three parts to it. Number one is I think we need to become aware what is the discomfort in our collaboration. And this is personal for me, right? And I think we need to be able to talk about that it's not easy for us to collaborate sometimes. And sometimes it's worse if you have to collaborate with someone you don't like,
Mm.
right? And but successful people do that, right? It's not whether I like you or not, but we are exchanging an idea, a strength, or a skill so that we contribute to the purpose of what we're doing, right? And so I think at a personal level, we need to become aware what is it that's going to help you collaborate better, your strength, and what is it that is stopping you from collaborate. For me, that's been my personal growth space, number one. Number two, we also look at environments, right? How is the environment supporting us? Are we in a space where we talk about collaboration, but the environment does not support us to collaborate? So can we manage and shift things so that collaboration happens actually more naturally? So there are a couple of things, just not you. So me as a person, being aware of my strengths and weaknesses, acquiring the skills that I need, and then having the right set of environment for us to work towards it. I think these are some things that you need to probably look at and don't be so hard on yourself. Okay, I think the
Yeah.
flip
Love
that
that.
The fact that you
That's true.
ask the question tells me that you have the right mindset and you're probably looking for clarity.
Where Malar will come from a EQ individual perspective. I have a different way of. I have another way of looking at it, and they're both supportive of each other, right? I tend to look at processes, right? How can I move from one to another space, or improve on something? And so if you take this continuum, what you're saying is that many of your colleagues are in the immuring space, which is the silo, working on their own, right? And if you want to push them, or you want to move that equation towards the right, then the progression is, it's there, William. It's essentially looking at what's the next step I need to do. I need to network, right? And maybe that's the first step in terms of influencing. I may need to network, find out about them, find out what's challenging about them. And Rashida, our first guest for this month, makes that as an important part of her ability to manage her stakeholders, right? Knowing the person not just at the work level, but also at the individual personal level, and then shifting that from that space into the coordinating space, and then moving it into the connecting space, right? If I got it, sorry, the cooperating space, right? And that will kind of help you push it towards the collaboration. So that's one way of thinking. That's another way of thinking about it as well. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
Right.
we are at 6:37. We need to go into the other model that we were talking about that can put a different perspective or another shape to that perspective or the continuum. Go for it, Malar.
Thank you, Shah. So again, William, I'm so grateful for your question because now we can use that as a basis of our conversation, right? So first, we looked at where in the continuum the collaboration that you are looking at and what we call as collaboration, right? Now
Mm,
we look at decision making. So why would someone collaborate or not? Whether it's someone or a group of people, why would a team choose to collaborate with us, an organization choose to collaborate with us?
mm,
Because we make choices believing that the benefit is more than the cost. So
yep.
every time we make a choice to collaborate or not. So in the example
Mm,
that I was talking to you this morning with my coach, he was very interesting. He was very clear. At this moment, his autonomy was driving his career. So the benefit being autonomous is much greater than collaboration. Now, why? We all know when we collaborate, when more than one person come together, we're
mm,
talking about diversity. Diversity means more conversation, means more conflict, means more time taken to get to consensus and collaboration,
mm,
right? Depending on what we are looking for in commitment. So, collaboration actually takes time. It takes time to make the conversation and the relationship work. Now, having said that, so he said, I don't have the time. So,
mm,
for him, what we realized was that there is a short term benefit now to stay autonomous in his role. But the choice
mm.
that he needed to make in shifting is what is the long term benefit if he collaborates? Is there a long term benefit? So, in William's story, the short term benefit for people who have silo mentality is probably their work life balance, meeting their KPI, and they're not wrong.
Mm,
But what is the long term? Is there a possibility of long term benefit to the areas that they value, which is work life balance? For example, if they collaborated, could that mean that they could manage their work life balance better? Right? So when we look at benefits, so we make decisions thinking about either short term it's better, more benefit, or long term it is better,
mm.
right? So when people are resisting, they might be resisting because there is a short term benefit when they do not change,
To
right?
not change.
to not change. So in this case,
Mm.
I work on silo. I work in silo mentality. That's because it's more beneficial for me at this
Yep,
moment.
I get my job done faster. I get the task done. I tick the boxes on what I need to do in order to get my performance appraisals done well, and my bonus done, and my salary up. Right.
Correct.
Yeah. So the I'm not looking at the long term gain.
Correct.
Oh, I
And
don't
my
see it.
short, yeah, and my short-term cost could be
Mm,
that my short-term cost could be the number of conversation I need to have. I need communication skills. I need to convince people. There's so much of hard work and time, right? So one is
yep.
skill, another one is time. So if you look
Yep.
at the slide here, so when we talk about cost, we're talking about what is the cost that I am experiencing for me. So for me, silo mentality, it could be time, it could be results. For others, it could be convincing people,
Mm,
right? And
mm.
and getting them on board. It's just too much of cost involved. So when I see that my short-term cost is too high, too much to invest for the return, I don't want to change.
Mm.
And if you think about it from their perspective, it's quite a wise decision.
Yes, I agree.
Unless you can sell them on a long-term benefit.
Yeah, or you can make that short term cost not so painful.
Maybe,
Mm,
maybe. But if you think about the thinking around cost benefit analysis, it's really you need to sell the benefit. And you, when I say sell, I'm not talking about manipulating. This is where your why becomes very clear.
mm,
So why do we collaborate? So when you think about collaboration, we think about activities. What are the things that we do to work together? That's the why, right? That's the what activities, right? And how we do it, the how is the collaboration. We're going to collaborate to
mhm.
get better results. But
Okay.
why are we collaborating? What is it
Mm,
in for the business? What is it in for me in my career growth? Are questions that we may not have asked because you're so focused on the activities. And sometimes, have you seen people who say collaboration, collaboration, but actually it's not going anywhere except that, we have fun together and,
yep.
and, and be together. So it's not
Correct.
collaboration, it's just networking, right?
Is this that networking correct?
I go, exchange cards, and nothing happens, But and the conversation we're saying, oh, I like to collaborate with you. I like to
Mm,
work with you. Let's do some
correct.
things together, right? So the whole idea is that once you know where you are on the continuum, and if you find that you are like me, you are reluctant, don't be so hard on yourself. Write down the cost and benefit of collaboration. Why cost and benefit? You want to see what is the short term cost that might be stopping you. Maybe there's a
Mm,
long term cost too. And if there's a long term cost to your collaboration, your decision not to collaborate might be the right one. But now you know why you don't want to collaborate. And as
oh,
you do this,
mm.
as you do this, you also become very clear whether you really want to collaborate.
Yeah, correct. So you may not be collaborating, right? You may look at you go back to the continuum, and maybe we don't need to collaborate, but we need to coordinate or cooperate, and that's sufficient. That's enough to get the job done, right? Achieve the objectives that you want to achieve, right? So, yeah, so that's one way of looking at do cost benefit is one way of making that analysis and making that decision whether it deserves collaboration or something else that is a little bit more on this side of the spectrum or the continuum. Yeah, we've got
Nice.
some interesting insights on the um on the idea of collaborating and what it how it when you collaborate what you have to give up. or what you gain from our model, right? Our flow profiler model. Let's talk about that. I like looking at diagrams which has
Aha. Okay,
bubbles
so
and stuff.
here's another
Mm,
interesting one that we want to show. So we looked at the continuum, then we looked at how people are experiencing collaboration, right?
yeah.
And to validate that experience so that you make an unbiased choice and decision that is good for you and good for your business results. And we use the
Mm,
cost benefit analysis to do that. Now, what I
mm,
want to bring out to you, this is actually our Flow Profiler team report. So this is a team that I was working with, right? And I want to bring your attention to, if you can, autonomy and collaboration. So we actually measure collaboration. Okay.
mm,
So
mm.
yeah, can you see that? Now, so what is really interesting, and this is a real case study, right? So, and with this particular group, if you realize, can you see the autonomy?
Yeah,
And so what it means here is that there are 12 people who are
about
very,
half and half. High on
yeah,
autonomy. Yeah, and you have got about 9 people who are somewhat high on collaboration or in flow with collaboration.
flow states,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
here is it like, so 12 people are autonomous. They work very independently. They are fantastic
Mm.
at that. And if you look, I want you to pay attention to the 5 people who are like me, who are adverse to collaboration. We're going to pull back and say, no, right? So, can you imagine the team? The challenge with this team would very much be if collaboration was important and collaboration was important for them. Because in a team
Mm.
building program, it's end of the year and you have clients asking you for team building program. Why do we want team building program? Because we want a group of people to just work better together,
Yep,
right? Work
yep.
better together, and that working better together is actually measured in the way they collaborate. Because when a
Mm.
team gets together, if they can talk about anything, then they can solve everything.
Mm.
That's within the control of the people within the team, right? So this is what the struggle was, right? Now, if you look, this is on a day-to-day basis, right? Now, what was interesting under pressure, that means when this team is stressed, these people give up on their autonomy, but 6 people are still very autonomous. But what
Mm.
is interesting is now the collaboration, they can move up the collaboration space, right? But
Mm.
5 people are still refusing to move,
Yeah.
right? Now, so when we looked at this and then we said, okay, so we can collaborate. Why is it that we are not willing to collaborate? And we had the conversation with the team, during the team building, and some of the issues that challenges that came up was, oh, we don't feel like equals in the team.
Mm.
We don't feel respected in the team.
Mm.
So when we had this conversation, I was amazed because I just put out the question and said, so we all now know we want to collaborate more. Where do you think we should be focused on? They say collaboration, but how? How do we collaborate more?
Mm.
Okay. This team was an amazing team because they got together and then they looked at their emotional intelligence. So if you see here, the
Mm.
reason they stated some of them had challenges collaborating is that, can you see emotional awareness? 9 people are the orange.
Yep.
Now, what does this
Well, it's
mean? This
not.
means, yeah, that means that I feel emotionally very sensitive.
Mm.
Right? I,
Yep.
I feel sensitive, but on a day to day basis, I regulate well. But under pressure, right, 6 of us are
Mm.
still sensitive, but that's not
Overregulate.
fine. But the interesting thing is
Become
10 of
even more sensitive. Sorry. Which one is
overregulate
you looking at now?
emotion regulation. Can you see emotion regulation, Sham? Sham, can you see?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can.
Okay,
I
okay,
can. I
okay.
can.
So there are 10 people who are over regulating. Now, what did
Mm.
this mean? This meant that when they are stressed, they don't show that they are stressed.
They keep
When
it in. They suck it in, right? Mm.
and they're cool about it, right? So now what happened is when I'm cool and my teammates don't know I'm stressed because I have suppressed it, people are not going to offer me help. And now I feel that you're not helping me.
Or what's going to happen is that they don't know you're on stress. They're going to load more things onto you, right? And of course, because they're not picking up the signals because you're suppressing it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so what
Mm.
this team did is they said, aha, all we need to do now is to make sure that we express what we are experiencing
Okay.
and get support. Because when we do get support, that would mean that I would feel listened to. I feel that I'm respected in the team. I'm
Mm-hmm.
an equal. We can talk about it. And when we talk about it, I'm very happy to work with you, which is collaboration.
Yeah.
So,
And this is
mhm,
the joy we get when we work with the flow profiler model, right? What gets
exactly.
measured gets done, right? And yeah, and because it was measured and the patterns were obvious, we could have a discussion around what was it that was happening, and then it can get done, right?
Mm,
In terms of building up the collaboration. So, and also what's interesting is that you could put all the processes in place, you could put all the systems in place, and they could be the most wonderful systems, but if you're not observing the important things that are stopping collaboration aside from the processes, it will never happen. All right, so back to William's question, or concern, that could be also another area that we may not be addressing, right? Because people are
mm,
very high in autonomy, they're very emotionally aware perhaps, or they're regulating their emotions. We don't know, right, until we measure it and figure out what the patterns are showing. Yeah.
mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I
there
just
was,
thought that was like so interesting in the sense that,
yeah.
uh, a lot of times when we're looking at collaboration, we think it's a logical thing. It is.
Yes.
So if you look at the cost benefit analysis, there are parts of us that is struggling. So, and you need to get down to the story of what is painful for you in collaborating. So, as a
Mm.
person who wants to collaborate, like William, right, with another person, and the person is resisting, I think it's
Yep.
good if we can quit labeling them as, oh, it's your mindset, it is
Mm.
your attitude, right? But right
Yep.
now, what we have is that we want to listen to their story, that the anxiety and the fear that they are experiencing as an individual, which is
Mm.
real for them, and help them to overcome it. How do you help them to overcome? Because some of this fear and anxiety that you hold may not be true,
Mm.
right? So you look at and why. So in this case, if this team, everybody was good, which is why during under pressure they were trying to cope on their own. They wanted to regulate because they know everyone is stressed. So you do
Mm.
something with positive intention, and you end up recognizing that people don't know that you are stressed,
Mm. Yep.
right? And when you're
Yep.
stressed, you don't want to collaborate because you don't want to be losing your temper. You become aware, and you're like, I don't want to show up this way, and you
Yep.
cut away from people.
Yep.
So
And you
those
don't realize that others in the team are also doing the same thing, right? So it's a
exactly.
multiplying effect. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as we say that, so I hope we've given you an idea of why collaborative leadership is inevitable, not important, but inevitable. I think it's where most businesses are heading. Most individuals need to head if you want to get into the career growth space. Why?
Mm.
Because we are all now trying to do more with less resources. And
Yep.
we all know that we can all do more and have exponential growth. I said it nicely. If we can collaborate, because then we ride on each other's strength. Now, as
Yep.
we say that, and for those who are still with us, we have one collaboration that's coming out. So
Yes.
August 10th, we had this Leadership Learning Festival in Malaysia. Now it is landing in Singapore on the 17th of November, right? We put in the registration, it is complimentary. So if you have been here and if you're available on the 17th, book your time.
Mm.
Arrive from 8:30 to 12:30. She says 12:15. I'm a Malaysian. I'm going to say 12:30. Join us in this leadership learning festival so that you can firstly network, maybe cooperate and
Mm.
coordinate, and perhaps you will find people that you want to collaborate and integrate, right? So
Yep.
we have an exciting event. Well, I am coming to Singapore, and again, this is a collaboration, and with your venue sponsor, right? They've collaborated.
Yeah.
Joshua Bank collaborated with you. So here's a very good example about how we can bring great conversation while we collaborate, and bring leadership, important leadership conversation to that space because of collaboration. Sham, is there anything else that you want to highlight about what is exciting at Leadership Learning Festival besides me coming there?
uh, Besides you coming here,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I'm looking forward is how we are integrating a few elements, right, in terms of the conversations that we're going to have. And we're not just looking at leadership, we're not just looking at leadership in, let's say, in tech, or how you hire for new skills or different skills, but we're looking at it also through the lens of mental well-being. And that's become an important topic in Singapore. And I think it is something that organizations and leaders are not so much, I wouldn't use the word grappling with, but we're trying to find a way of saying, how can we have those conversations? Number one, how do we measure, the mental well-being of our teams? And what kinds of conversations do we need to have? Right, so I'm excited because well, if you go into where the details are, you will see who our speaker lineup is and our panelists, and the agenda that we have lined up for the morning together. So yeah, very very looking forward
So,
to that.
yeah, that's fantastic. So, if you're from Malaysia, yes, you can go to Singapore. But if you're in Singapore, there's no reason you should miss this. And I really, really hope that I get to meet you in person. So, PMS, DMS, or comment. Just click the registration and book your seat. So, with
Mm.
that, I hope for those who've been staying tuned with us from 6 o'clock, we hope that we have brought some value into thinking about collaboration. If you have more
Yep.
questions, just drop the question so that we can figure out a way to learn and share our insights with you. With that, this is Malar signing off from KL.
And this is Sham signing off from Singapore. And this means this is the end of October and our shows for October. We are coming up to November's set of shows next week, starting next week. And that will bring us to the end of our season 2 at the end of November. So please join us. We have got an interesting lineup for November. And then we will end November with a summary show where all three of us will be online together. So see you next week, same time, same place. Until then, have a good day, good evening, and stay safe. Bye,
And
everyone.
register for the 17th of November. Bye.
Yes, and register for the 17th of November. All right, everyone. Ta ta.